There are many active volcanoes in the US, but which ones pose the greatest danger to us? Let's take a look together. The volcano with the least threat among them is the Long Valley caldera located in California. The Long Valley caldera formed approximately 760,000 years ago due to a super eruption, expelling about 1,400 times more lava, gas, and ash than the 1980 eruption of Mount St Helens. Despite not having erupted for tens of thousands of years, the USGS still notes its thermal activity. In 2018, researchers reported that there is approximately 240 cubic miles of magma reservoir beneath the Long Valley. This amount is deemed sufficient for a super eruption, similar to the one that occurred 760,000 years ago, to potentially happen again. The most recent eruption occurred 6,600 years ago. However, the USGS predicts a high threat potential for a future eruption in this area. A volcanic activity here could impact over 20,000 residents living in Klamath Falls. Although it may not appear significantly large from ground level, when considering its extensive submarine flanks that depress the sea floor, Mauna Loa's summit extends over 10.5 miles above its base. This volcano exhibits a slow, viscous eruption style, resulting in the formation of a broad dome. Mauna Loa's last eruption was in 1984, when the lava flow reached within 4 miles of Hilo, a city of 45,000. Renowned for its heightened activity, Mauna Loa has erupted 33 times in recorded history, with notable events in 1950, 1859, and 1880–81, the latter covering land that now lies within Hilo's city limits. Some experts propose that the volcano is approaching the conclusion of a 2,000-year cycle, anticipating increased summit lava flows directed towards the northwest and southeast. Around 13,000 years ago, Glacia Peak experienced 9 eruptions within a span of a few hundred years. The most significant eruption during this period expelled more than 5 times the amount of rock fragments compared to the 1980 Mount St Helens eruption. As implied by its name, Glacia Peak is extensively covered by ice. The volcano's latest eruption occurred approximately 300 years ago, and given its historical pattern of erupting every several hundred to a few thousand years, the USGS suggests that a future eruption is unlikely in the near future. Nevertheless, continuous monitoring is in place, as an eruption could potentially pose a threat to Seattle, located approximately 70 miles away. During the 1800s, Mount Baker experienced multiple eruptions and has been responsible for generating hazardous pyroclastic flows in recent history. In 1975, the volcano caused alarm among locals by releasing substantial amounts of volcanic gases, accompanied by a tenfold increase in heat flows. Despite the heightened concerns, the anticipated eruption did not materialize. Presently, Mount Baker exhibits ongoing fumarolic activity. However, there is no indication that it is linked to magma movement, which would typically signal an impending eruption. Newberry Volcano has a geological history spanning at least 500,000 years, having erupted at least 11 times since the early Holocene epoch. Despite its dormancy for centuries, the USGS designates it as an active volcano, assigning it a very high threat level. Positioned approximately 20 miles south of Bend, Oregon, the volcano's proximity to inhabited areas raises concerns. The possibility of a recurrence of its historical eruptions could potentially result in lava flows impacting populated regions. Augustine Volcano has experienced multiple eruptions throughout the past century. The latest eruption, which occurred in 2005, featured pyroclastic flows, lahars, and ash clouds that traveled hundreds of kilometers downwind. The explosive activity transitioned into lava flows, persisting for several months until subsiding in the spring of 2006. While the most recent reported activity dates back to 2010, Augustine remains one of Alaska's most perilous volcanoes. Its potential to disrupt air traffic makes it a continuing concern for the region. On May 30th, 1914, Lassen Peak awoke from a 27,000-year-long dormancy. Over the course of a year, it emitted gas and lava, leading to multiple explosions, avalanches, and lahars. The climax occurred in May 1915, when a significant eruption expelled ash 30,000 feet into the atmosphere, accompanied by pyroclastic flows that devastated an area of 3 square miles. The volcanic ash traveled as far as Winnemucca, Nevada, approximately 200 miles away. While Lassen Peak is currently dormant, it is considered active, presenting a distant threat to nearby cities such as Redding and Chico. Situated approximately 80 miles west of Anchorage, Alaska's most populous city, Mount Spur has a history of eruptions over the last 8,000 years. Notably, it experienced modern eruptions in 1953 and 1992, both resulting in the deposition of ash on the city of Anchorage. In addition to the direct threat posed to Anchorage and its population of about 300,000 people by emitting towering ash clouds into major trans-Pacific aviation routes, the volcano presents a risk to air traffic. Makusheen has witnessed numerous small to moderate eruptions since 1786, with the most recent occurring in 1995. The summit caldera and eastern flanks of Makusheen are still marked by high-temperature geothermal areas, signaling ongoing volcanic unrest. Classified as a very high threat, the volcano poses a significant risk as ash from a potential eruption could jeopardize the health of Unalaska residents. Moreover, such an event could bring essential air transportation to a standstill, emphasizing the potential impact on the local community and broader transportation infrastructure. Akutan stands as one of the most active volcanoes in the Aleutians and Alaska, with over 20 eruptions recorded since 1790. It erupted 11 times between 1980 and 1992. While no new eruptions have occurred since then, ongoing hints of activity persist. Active fumaroles and hot springs continue at Akutan, and the Alaska Volcanic Observatory has reported noteworthy seismicity multiple times this century, including more than 100 seismic events in 2008. Oregon's Three Sisters volcanoes are often considered as a single unit, though they originated at different times from distinct magma sources. While neither the North nor the Middle Sister has erupted in approximately 14,000 years, the South Sister erupted about 2,000 years ago and is deemed the most likely of the trio to erupt again. Both the South and Middle Sisters have exhibited recurrent activity spanning thousands to tens of thousands of years, potentially leading to explosive eruptions or the formation of lava domes that might collapse into pyroclastic flows. The South Sisters' recent eruptions resulted in significant rockfall and ash deposition up to 25 miles away from the vents. Research indicates that a new eruption could pose a rapid threat to nearby communities, with a hazard zone extending about 12 miles in diameter. Mount Hood, a stratovolcano with a history spanning 500,000 years, is situated 50 miles east-southeast of Portland and last erupted in the 1790s. Although the distance may spare Portland from direct impact by a lahar, Mount Hood could still disperse rock fragments or ash over the area, similar to the events observed during Mount St Helens eruption in 1980. Over the past 10,000 years, the frequency of eruptions at Mount Shasta has increased from an 800-year to a 250-year cycle. The most recent eruption is estimated to have occurred approximately 230 years ago. According to the USGS, future eruptions resembling those of the last 10,000 years are likely to result in deposits of ash, lava flows, domes, and pyroclastic flows. These flows have the potential to cause damage to low-lying areas extending up to 13 miles from Shasta's summit and any active satellite vents. This includes the city of Mount Shasta, situated on the flanks of the volcano. Redout is situated in Alaska's Lake Clark National Park and has experienced at least 30 eruptions in the last 10,000 years. The most recent eruptions occurred in 1902, 1966, 1989, and 2009. In 1966, melted ice from the summit crater caused a glacial outburst flood known as Glacial Run. 40 years later, the volcano became active again for several months, sending ash clouds soaring as high as 65,000 feet above sea level and triggering up to 30 earthquakes per second just before erupting. The Cascade Range's highest peak is a volcano loaded with the most glacier ice of any mountain in the contiguous U.S. This poses a threat to Seattle-Tacoma, over which Mount Rainier looms if or when the stratovolcano erupts. As Mount St Helens demonstrated in 1980, volcanoes that erupt through ice can create lahars. 2 lahars from Mount Rainier made it all the way to Puget Sound, following a catastrophic eruption about 5,600 years ago. One of the most devastating volcanic eruptions in U.S. history occurred on May 18, 1980, approximately 50 miles northeast of Portland, Oregon. An earthquake dislodged a portion of Mount St. Helens, initiating a landslide and a powerful blast that propelled a column of ash 30,000 feet into the sky, leveling trees across 230 square miles. Subsequent eruptions unleashed torrents of hot ash, rocks, and gas racing down the slopes at speeds ranging from 50 to 80 miles per hour. The catastrophic event claimed the lives of over 50 people and thousands of animals, with damages exceeding $1 billion. Mount St. Helens experienced a reawakening in 2004, marked by 4 explosive events that ejected gas and ash, reaching heights of 10,000 feet above the crater. Subsequent lava emissions led to the formation of a dome on the crater floor, and in late January 2008, an eruption occurred, filling 7% of the crater left by the 1980 eruption. While the volcano has since quieted, the USGS continues to label it as an active and dangerous volcanic site. Kilauea is the most active of the 5 volcanoes that form the Big Island of Hawaii. Located on the southeastern part of the island, the Shield volcano has erupted 34 times since 1952. The most recent eruption lasted almost 3 decades, from 1983 to 2018. Its slow-moving lava was relatively harmless for much of that period. If anything, it created spectacular scenery as it gradually expanded the island of Hawaii. But it also sometimes sends lava through new vents with little warning. That occurred in 1990, and it destroyed much of the town of Kalapana. A more recent reminder of Kilauea's potential danger, the volcano began invading residential neighborhoods near Pahoa in the spring of 2018. A series of new eruptive vents began spewing lava into the Leilani Estates and Lanipuna Gardens subdivisions, along with dangerous sulfur gas, destroying dozens of buildings and forcing more than 1,700 people to evacuate.